Okay, so this is going to be your first research project, okay, for Science 10. It's going to count in the same section, your lab reports and all of that count in, okay, it's part of your coursework. It'll be worth the same amount as a lab, right, so it'll be weighted kind of the same. So in this project, what we're looking for here is we want to examine the effects of long-term exposure to a toxic chemical. Right? That toxic chemical can be of your choice, but it must be chemically toxic. All right? It cannot be, let's say, the result of an infectious organism. Okay, so it can't be a virus or something like that because that's not a chemical toxin. Okay, that's something working against your body biologically. Okay, and nor can it be radioactive. All right, as radioactive toxicity is different than chemical toxicity. Is everyone following me there? Okay, so when you're thinking about choices, like plutonium is probably not one you're going to do. Okay. All right, so what we're looking for is not just health effects of the chemical on the people exposed. Certainly we do want to do that. Okay, we want to look at that, but we also want to look at, and this is like half of your report. Okay, half of your report is the effects that are on the effects directly on the people, but the other half is this: societal costs. Right? I'm not looking at a dollar figure here. I don't mean how many dollars and cents does heroin cost the economy because people are always sick. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, what I'm looking for here is what are the costs to you and I if this toxin is out there, but I'm not directly affected by it. Okay, I'm indirectly affected by it. So, as an example, okay, nicotine is obviously a highly toxic material. Okay, a lot of people choose to do their report on that. I don't smoke. I don't chew tobacco. I don't put the patch on or anything like that. Okay, but I'm still indirectly affected by it, right? And I'm indirectly affected by it in this way. People who smoke will eventually develop what? Cancer. Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. If you smoke, you're probably like 95% chance that you're going to have some sort of cancer-related problem at some point in your life. Okay. I'm not going to get cancer from smoking. I might get cancer from something else, but I'm not going to get it from smoking. Okay? But does the fact that a lot of people do affect me somehow? It does. Okay? Because who pays for healthcare? Yeah. Anyone who pays taxes, okay, pays for healthcare. All right? Because we in Canada, we believe that it's our responsibility to take care of each other when we're sick. Okay? That's just something we do. Not all countries believe that. Okay? Look at all the problems the United States is having. Like everyone hates Barack Obama because he wanted to employ some sort of healthcare that was kind of like what we have. So people didn't have to worry about losing their house if they got sick and had to go to the hospital. Okay? We don't even think about it. We get sick, we go to the doctor, we go to the hospital because it's covered. Okay? But it's not like that everywhere. Okay? But that costs money. And in fact, it costs a lot of money. All right? Healthcare in Alberta costs $1 billion a day. Okay? $1 billion a day for healthcare in Alberta. All right? Think about it. How many doctors and nurses are employed in Alberta? A lot. Okay? And they're making, you know, a fair amount of money each day. That's just their salary. Now you got to consider how much it costs to maintain hospitals, all the supplies and materials and medications and all that are supplied at each and every day. Okay, all of that kind of stuff. It adds up in a hurry when you consider how much is actually done with healthcare in a day. All right, so we've got that kind of stuff to deal with there. So we're looking at things like healthcare, taxation, government regulations, okay, etc. Those are societal effects. The way that I'm affected indirectly by this toxic chemical. Does everyone sort of follow what we're looking for there? Okay. It could be things like if the toxin you're doing is a drug of some kind. If that affects people's behavior and it's illegal, okay, they may end up committing crimes that affect you. Okay, they may end up in jail. Who pays for that? Us. Yeah, taxes pays for prisons. Okay, and guards and whatever else goes on in prison. Okay, they have to be fed, they have to be clothed, right, all that kind of stuff. So we pay for that. Okay, that's another indirect cost of some toxic chemicals. Right, so we got to think outside the box a little bit when we're thinking about these societal effects. Okay, so the scope of the paper is supposed to go beyond an examination of health. We still want to do that. Okay, but it also encompasses how this affects us socially. Okay, now some suggestions for your project could be health hazards due to excessive consumption of alcohol, nicotine, or other drugs. Exposure to toxic chemicals. Okay, I have mercury in amalgam dental fillings here, but that's actually a big joke. Okay, radon buildup in homes, environmental concerns related to the handling, storage, and disposal of heavy metals, strong acids, flammable gases. Okay, any other things that you have interest in. Can be any toxic chemical as long as it's chemically toxic. All right, everyone follow me there. Okay, the mercury in amalgam dental fillings was actually a big money grab, and the people were saying that the mercury that's in the metal, the silver fillings, you guys probably don't have any. Okay, people that are old like me have some. Okay, they have a little bit of mercury in them, and so they were saying that your filling eventually breaks down and you're swallowing this mercury. Well, how big's a filling? It's tiny. Okay, and it's not all mercury. There's just a tiny little bit in there. And the last time I checked, my filling hasn't dissolved in the 20 years it's been in my mouth. Okay? It hasn't dissolved any. It's still plugging the hole where I had the cavity. All right? Even then, even if I swallowed the filling whole, if it came out and I swallowed the whole thing, there's more mercury in a can of tuna than there is in my filling. Okay? But they had this big scare tactic going on, and people went to just in droves to their dentist to have their amalgam fillings removed and ceramic ones put in, and then they actually had it proven later in court that no, there's absolutely no basis for that, and these guys ended up going to jail for fraud. Okay, yeah, because they defrauded a whole bunch of people out of their fillings and money. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of a big joke. Don't do that one. Okay, if you want to do mercury as a toxin, that is fine. Mercury is very bad for you. Okay, now what we want to do in this project is this. We want to report first off. Okay, so what we're looking for here, guys, in terms of the outline, okay, you report on the chemical nature of your toxin. So, okay, you're going to want to make some notes here, guys. This is the stuff that needs to be in your report. Okay, report on the chemical nature of your toxin. What type of chemical is it? Okay, is it ionic, molecular, organic? Okay, if it's organic, it means it has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in it. Okay, how is its chemical nature related to its toxicity? What is it about it that is bad for you? Okay, does it have a certain type of reaction with certain parts of your body, or like, for example, like carbon monoxide bonds to hemoglobin, and then the hemoglobin can't absorb and hold on to oxygen, and you eventually just asphyxiate, okay, because you can't get the gases passed around to all the tissues that need it. All right, things like that. So how does it work? Okay. How does it cause damage to human tissue? Okay, so what exactly does it do, okay, within your body? What are its toxic effects? Okay, and what symptoms may a victim exhibit? All right, so we're looking at things behavioral, okay, physiological, like for example, if you get poisoned by heavy metals like lead and things like that, your hair does weird things and your fingernails start to get stripes on them. Okay, because it affects the way keratin is developed in your body. That's the stuff that fingernails and hair are made out of. Okay, in terms of societal effects, okay, we've kind of talked about the things you want to look for. Okay, first off, is the exposure to the toxin by choice? Okay, is this something that people purposefully do to themselves? Okay, so drugs, that would be by choice. Okay, or is it something that's in the workplace or in nature, accidental exposure? Okay, things like that, we don't know. Okay, maybe we just get exposed to it and we're not aware of it until later. Okay, what are the costs? And again, not so much a dollar figure, because it's going to be really hard to find those. Okay, we're looking at load on hospitals, man hours lost to illness. Okay, that's a big one. Okay, man hours lost to illness is something that companies do not like. All right, because, like for example, if I were to be sick, okay, I stay at home until I get better, and someone comes in and subs for me. Well, that costs the school division twice as much money as if I'm here, just me. Okay, because I still get paid if I'm sick. Okay, most people do. If you take a sick day, most people have sick days built into their payment schedule and contracts. So you're getting paid because you're sick, but the person who's taking over for you is also getting paid. Okay, that costs companies money, right? So that's a big deal if you're a corporation of some kind. Okay, treatment centers. Okay, somebody's got to pay for these places. Okay, usually for us in Canada, that comes from taxes, right? If we're building an MRI facility or, you know, urgent care centers or whatever, all of that comes out of the public money. Okay, imaging facilities, okay, things like that. When we're talking about load on hospitals, things you could look at could be things like wait times in the emergency room. Okay, I mean, I had to take one of our basketball players to the hospital in Edmonton because he got a cut on his ear because another one of our players slammed the door on his head. Okay, yeah, you had to be there. Anyway, we go into this big city hospital, and we're kind of not very high on the priority list because, well, he's not dying. Okay, I mean, there's people in there that they're throwing up in buckets and stuff like that. I mean, we're kind of not so high, okay, on the priority list. Well, actually, while we were in there waiting for him to get his stitches, a guy came in who was missing his finger. Okay, yeah, he was very calm. Okay, but then we get bumped and we have to wait some more because there's just not enough doctors to treat everybody. So you wait, and if you're not seriously injured, you wait longer. Okay, the guy with the sucking chest wound is in a lot more trouble than the guy with the cut on his ear. Okay, right? So they take priority. But the less doctors there are, the longer you have to wait. All right? Or if, let's say, you tear a ligament in your knee, okay, you might have to wait quite a while to get an MRI on that unless you're willing to pay out of your own pocket to jump the line. Okay, so wait times are kind of a big deal. Okay, and the more people who are sick, the longer the wait times are. So that's another thing to think about. Okay, does the government have regulations related to this toxin? Okay, for example, you have to be 18 years old to purchase alcohol. Okay, and I think for nicotine as well, right? Okay, I don't know because I've never smoked. I have no idea. Okay, age regulations. Is it legal to possess the substance? Okay, or is it something that's banned? Are there disposal requirements? Okay, is this something you can just put down the sink, or do you have to take it somewhere special? All right, you know, when we did the lab, we had a big bucket there for all of the hazardous material that we produced. Okay, we can't put that down the sink. It contains lots of really nasty stuff we don't want ending up in the waste treatment plant. So we actually take it to the fire hall, and they actually send it to Swan Hills where it's properly incinerated and disposed of. Okay. All right, the last thing that needs to go in there is your opinion. Based on what you learned about this toxin, what are your feelings on it? Should it be banned? Okay. Should there be greater restrictions, lesser restrictions? Should they change how it's disposed of? Are there concerns with how it affects the environment? Okay, things like that. Okay. Everyone understand kind of what the idea of the project is there? Okay, so half of the project is on the chemical itself and how it affects people. The other half is how it affects everybody. Now, citing your references. Really important that you do this right because it's worth 5 of the 25 marks that this project is out of. Whenever you use somebody else's information, you have to give them credit for it. Okay? And there is a certain format for you to do that. All right? So, most of you are probably going to use the internet here to get your information. So when you're citing someone's article from a website, you need to do it in this way. All right? You have this on your sheet. Circle it. Your references need to look like this. Okay? First, the author's name. Last name first, first name last. That will probably be the hardest thing for you to find, oddly enough. For some reason, people just like to go off on the internet and not put their name on anything. Okay? If what you're reading sounds like someone's just going off, it might not all be true. Okay? You kind of have to look at the tone of people's articles and see whether they're just ranting or whether they've actually done some legitimate research. Okay? So they're not Jenny McCarthy, who's crazy. Okay? Yeah. Okay? Single-handedly undid the most important medical advance of the last 300 years. Okay? The whole vaccination thing. Yeah? Okay? Sometimes people just go off. All right? And it can have negative effects. So make sure that what you're reading sounds legitimate, okay, before you start quoting it in your paper. Okay, so look for the author's name. If you can't find it, it may be because you're on a website like a university website where several people contributed to the article. Okay? If that's the case, you may just need to say various contributors from this organization. All right? So that could be Health Canada. Okay? It could be from, let's say, Alcoholics Anonymous or something like that. Okay? You might not have an actual person's name, so you might just have to write various contributors. Hopefully, you don't have various contributors for everything. All right? Then, you need the date the article was posted. Hopefully, it's not as old as you, because that might not be so valid anymore. Okay? So, October 28th, 1995. You can usually find the date an article was posted. If you can't, it's the last day the site was updated. All right? If you can't find that, if there's any copyright dates, use those. Right? That indicates at least some idea when that article was published. Okay? Then you need the name of the article. In this case, it was Vive le Quebec, Vive le Canada. Okay? And then the name of the website was the Daily News. Then you put in the URL. Okay? www.iswearididn'tstealthis.com. Okay? And then the day you accessed it. That will obviously not be October 29th, 1995. It'll be February 25th, 2015, 20 years later. Okay? Everyone follow me on that one? Okay, so make sure it's in that format. You need to have at least 5 references. All right? I know sometimes you get a site and it just seems like it's got everything you want, but you should always have other sites to verify. Okay? Just in case you found the rant site, okay, and didn't realize it. Okay, another 5 marks of this report is your planning. Okay, I need to see some evidence of planning. This is what I would like to see as evidence of planning. First off, a timeline. Okay, that tells me here's when I'm doing certain things as I progress towards having my paper finished. All right, so for today, you could write February 25th. Started my research, did my plan, some of my planning, decided on a topic, okay, something like that. And then when you work on it tomorrow, you can say further research, blah, 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 and then just make up a timeline, okay, put some dates in advance, maybe say I want to have the report done by this day, have Mr. Coderre review it, something like that. That shows me you thought ahead. All right. The other thing I want to see is some sort of like thought web or outline. Okay, you might want to, I mean, if you like doing the webs, go ahead and do a web. Here's my central topic, and here's where I'm going from there. Or maybe you want to go, in paragraph 1, I'm going to talk about this, and in paragraph 2, I'm going to talk about this. Something that shows you thought about how you're going to set up your report. Everyone follow there. Okay, so have that stuff for planning. Okay, it's 5 marks, but it's the most commonly missed 5 marks. People just forget to do it. Right? And then I can't give them anything because they don't have anything. Right? So do some planning. It's 5 easy marks. Okay, so the scope of this project, it needs to be between 800 and 1,000 words. To give you some idea, that page I just gave you, okay, that's got about 12 to 1,500 words on it. And that's like small print. Right? So 12-point font, 1-inch margins, which is the default for most things, you're looking at about a page and a half. Okay, something like that. Okay, and guys, honestly, in 800 words, it's really hard to do this project justice. Okay, you are more likely, if you want to get a good mark, going to be around the 1,000 to 1,200 range. Okay, if you want to do a good job of it. Right? If you're just looking at the bare minimum and you have 804 words when you hand it in, don't expect 100%. Okay, because like I said, it's really hard to do this project justice in that few words. All right. And no, a picture is not worth 1,000 words. Okay, keep that in mind. I had one person who tried that on me once. Okay, that's not true. Okay, all right. Initiating and planning, 5 marks. Okay, analysis and interpretation. So the stuff that you write, is it factual? Does it make sense? Okay, 5 marks. Communication. When I read your report, does it sound like a 15, 16-year-old wrote it? Okay, not my 5-year-old. Okay. Because if it sounds that way, I'm not going to be terribly impressed. Okay, is it grammatically correct? When I read it, does it kind of flow and ideas are tied together somehow? Okay, it's not one long sentence. I've actually had that happen. Okay, or there's no paragraph breaks because it's all one sentence, perfectly aligned all the way down. Okay, make sure it's presentable. Okay, you can do this as a like a PowerPoint, just the Google version. Okay, like in slides, you can do that. That's fine as well. Okay, I haven't put this on Google Classroom yet. Okay, because I wanted to get the podcast on there before I did that. So for today, when you first get the Chromebooks, you can just start kind of thinking of what you're going to do, and then I'll have the actual assignment on Google Classroom, probably about 5 or 6 minutes after we get done explaining here. Okay. For research and investigation, that's your bibliography. Okay, that's this stuff up here that we circled in red. Okay, 5 references minimum. Okay, it's out of 5 marks. Make sure that it's in the right format. Okay, here's what inevitably happens, or at least that I see a lot. People just write down www.google.com like 5 times. Google, you don't get anything from there. It's a search engine. It helps you find other stuff. Okay. And if all you write down is www.ididn'tlistentomrcoderre and didn't do this in the right format.com, yeah, you're going to get 1 out of 5. Okay? I need to see it in this format. I need to know you looked for all this stuff. If all you write down is 5 URLs, I am going to be unimpressed. Okay? All right. And then lastly, overall. Okay, when you hand it in, okay, did you include, let's say, visual aids like pictures, okay, graphs, things that kind of tied in with your arguments, okay, all of that kind of stuff. Creativity, quality, okay, spelling, right? I mean, for gosh sakes, you're doing this on the computer. It's got a spell checker, okay, and there shouldn't be too many spelling mistakes, okay, when you hand this in, right? Stuff like that. Everybody with me on what the expectations are? Yes? Okay, this is going to be due 2 weeks from today, so that will be March 11th. Okay, so this will be due March 11th. I would say have it done before that, so you can have me read it over and give you any tips and pointers for your before you hand it in for good. Okay, so I will bring the Chromebooks out and you can get started on doing a little research. I will get the assignment up on Google Classroom and then you can start plugging some things in. Okay, Lynn, question? Okay, good question just came up here, guys. If we use pictures, do we have to cite where the pictures came from? The answer is yes. Anytime you use somebody else's stuff, you have to cite it. It's including pictures. That's why it's really easy to get more than 5 references. For every picture, you got to do another reference. So yeah, it's quite easy to have 10 references in your bibliography because of that. Okay? Any other questions before we get started? Okay.